thank you, Tim, for chairing. You did a good job.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. So,
Water services bill.
yeah, water service.
Okay, let's go. So Luke, can I bring you up to the table? We're just going to do that water services bill submission, item 10.
Then we've got Yarn's amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take it as read.
Yeah.
Because we've been through it, which is good. Yanni, we've got your amendments, which we're going to put up on the screen. Effectively, just saying, can we incorporate this feedback into the local services,
Yeah.
which I personally didn't have an issue with. So I don't know if people are, if the mover and second, did we move it and second it before?
Yes, we had the beer and Melanie Coker.
So are you happy to just include it in the? So Phil's happy too. Mel, are you happy to?
That's the whole amendment there, is it?
That's just to incorporate it in.
All right, so the
Yep.
bottom, is it just the bottom one? So I'm on right
No,
now.
it's 1 to.
Oh, the whole lot?
Yep.
I'm happy to include it too, but I note that Councillor Johansson did say he'd like it moved and seconded by him and Councillor
Yeah, well, I
Peters.
just think, given
In the interest
yeah,
of time,
we'll just get it
this
into
is
the.
easy.
Yep.
You guys
Yep.
support
So it's so moved by the mayor, seconded by Mel. Is there any discussion? Yanni?
it. Yeah, thank you. Look, just to quickly speak to this, but I think the key thing is that the government is proposing a water services bill. One of the key aspects of that bill is to reduce, to make changes affecting the water quality regulatory framework, to reduce the regulatory burden on the drinking water quality regime, and to improve the proportionality of the application of regulatory powers. I think everyone around this table who's been involved from the start will be incredibly frustrated at the huge cost we've had imposed upon us by these water reforms and the huge frustration at trying to get an exemption. So the amendment is basically saying, let's be really clear, this bill should give the government the opportunity to make it easier for us to have an exemption considered. The amendments are seeking that we actually reduce the requirements, because at the moment we have to spend $1 zillion to even apply for an exemption, or to get to a stage where we can apply for an exemption, which seems inherently unfair. What we want to do is actually be able to apply for an exemption and get a determination while not having to be forced to chlorinate our water and spend, I asked staff, we've got about $100 million we're spending on moving to chlorination, and there's arguably more than that, depending on what the regulator determines, up to about $500 million. So this is a way for a government that wants councils to reduce rates and wants to ease the regulatory burden and make things more streamlined and efficient. There's a perfect opportunity for government to do that, and I hope our submission, the reason for putting forward these amendments, and I thank the Mayor and Melanie for supporting these, is to try and get government to see the sense in taking a much more pragmatic approach to what is a really important issue for our city. Thank you.
So I just want to take a minute, because there's about 10 staff.
So it's just some of the councillors were concerned that the resolution didn't quite make grammatical sense.
It's also different.
Yeah, can we just have...
Right, so we'll just take, sorry, I thought it had been through, so let's just wait for 2 minutes. to it. And I think we've got, so do you want to come to the table, team? We've got some questions. No, we've got questions. Or a question. But not from you.
Barney's happy with that wording, we check the wording.
Cool.
Questions to staff
Yep.
around the amendment that has just been put through from Councillor Hanson into the substantive. I just wanted to know staff's, I guess, your feedback on the amendments and around the what that does to the submission that we had under the staff recommendation.
Yeah, sure. So the amendment, it is consistent with previous feedback that we have provided. I think a key thing to note, it is a significant policy decision that would require consideration from Cabinet in order to enable these sorts of changes, and it would likely require consultation in order to be applied.
Sure, and what policy decision does that entail? Is that around the water services bill?
Yes.
Okay. And I really wanted to hone in on point 2B, which is provide the council with the ability to stop chlorinating its water supply while an application for an exemption is considered and determined. I mean, that holds quite a substantial amount of risk, particularly with communities who actually really require those exemptions. I mean, would there be thresholds in which we're asking for an exemption, in your view?
I can't comment on that, Brent. You might be able to talk to that.
Councillor, I don't think there's anything stopping us putting a request in like that. However, it might be better to get, when Te Mata Arawai come down, we're inviting them to come down in the near future to talk about the changes that are already being made and the ability to, I guess, some of the smaller supply areas look at different ways and different thresholds. So whether you would take actually get an exemption while you were applying for it, that would be up to Te Mata Arawai to decide. I think let's listen to what they say in terms of the flexibility and the changes they're already making to the Act. I mean, you're aware already that they're working with us on looking at our source water as to reducing the requirements as much as possible. Yeah, I can't really comment any more than that. It would have to come from the regulator itself.
That's fine. The last question I've got is actually around the risk profile. I mean, what's Council's risk profile where it stands in terms of parts per million in comparison to Te Mata Arawai?
Council currently chlorinates for distribution, not for its source water, and it is kept to quite a minimum requirement. It's something around, Gavin might be able to correct me, about 2 parts per million. 0.2 parts per million. So it's very, very, very,
Council?
very small.
That's council or?
This council.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? We're all good. So they've just been incorporated into the original, the substantive motion, I guess. So we'll just vote on them as one. Does anyone want anything put separately? Yeah.
2B.
2B, which is I think going to be 5B, is it? Yeah. We might just, if we, yeah, we'll just get them updated.
To be quite honest, 2B is so stupid. No one explain that.
Wait. Let's not get too excited. So, what we'll do is we'll go into debate if anyone wants to debate it. Tyler.
Yeah, I want to note my points against 5B, which, for the public's knowledge, as Aaron has asked me to do, is provide the council with the ability to stop chlorinating its water supply while an application for an exemption is considered and determined. So you're asking for an exemption to apply for an exemption. It just sounds ridiculous, and honestly, that takes away all the attention from the really pragmatic things that council's put into the submission. Therefore, I really don't like it. Everyone knows and everyone wants chlorine to be out of our water. I mean, I live right next to a water pump and it smells like I'm in a pool whenever they renew it. So, I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with is diluting a really good submission that staff have put in. Experts have actually put into the submission, and we're trying to, in my opinion, put ourselves on a platform to say we're fighting for the city, when in actual fact, we'll be fighting for our city if we hold on to our asset and make sure we have really consistent, great water, whether it's in any of the three waters. So regardless, everyone can do what they'd like to do, but I'm definitely voting against 5B for sure. Kia ora.
A really good submission, and it's quite punchy, and it needs to be. But just a couple of things that I'd like to highlight was we've pointed out the lack of engagement with the local councils, and therefore failing to benefit from our experience and our expertise. It's kind of really questionable why there wasn't more engagement there. The other thing that I'm quite concerned about is the ministerial intervention powers, and the staff have pointed out the definition of the problem is not correctly defined. It's very vague and risky, so therefore what would trigger an intervention is unclear. An intervention would of course override local government democratic decision making, and there's also no specific measurable criteria for that intervention. You'd also need more clarification on what would enable that intervention to cease and for control to return to local council. So that's really concerning for me. And I think that, I just not want to talk much longer on this, but in actual fact for a government that really campaigned on localism and the importance of it, this is once again a threat to that and removing decision making from local councils. So once again, thanks for a really, really good submission. I also will not be supporting 5B. That's an oxymoron, wanting an exemption while you're waiting for one. So I can't support that. And I do agree with Councillor Harrison-Hunt that it will actually detract from the substantive and the very good submission that we've got. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to thank staff for the huge amount of work they've done. It's an excellent submission, and I'll totally concur with my colleague, Councillor Harrison-Hunt, who put it very well, so I'm not going to try and up that one. So, cheers.
Yeah, so I think the intention of what Yanni's trying to do here with 5B is ask that we don't have to chlorinate the water while we wait, because we might be waiting for years and years and years of chlorine in your water. And so that's his intention. So that's why I would support what he has put up there, and I would encourage others to do the same. It's literally just a submission. It's not a hard and fast rule. I think the people of Christchurch should have a say on whether they want their water chlorinated themselves. This should be going to the vote of the public, and then going to the government and saying, look, we have a mandate from the people. We don't want chlorine in our water. We're willing to take the risk, and anyone who is immunocompromised should boil their water anyway. You shouldn't rely on the council to make sure it's demonstrably safe. So I'm all for, no one's ever got sick. That's health advice. That is what the District Health Board do say, is that if you are immunocompromised, boil your water. It's nothing new, so don't look so surprised, you lot. We should be, no one's ever got sick from our water, and that's also from the Medical Officer of Health, before anyone looks surprised around the table, because our pipes are in reasonably good nick, and we do take care of them. But chlorine is a massive bugbear of the people of Christchurch, and I believe what Yanni's doing here is the right thing, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, staff, for the work you put into this. And I pick up on what Councillor Cotter was saying there around the some lack of detail around some of the ministerial intervention, that sort of thing, is concerning, so it's good to see that covered. Also happy to have worked with Yanni on the chlorine clauses here. And yes, I do understand, along with Councillor Keown, the intention of that B, even though it words a little bit funny. It's got a good intention. The people of Christchurch have spoken long and strong to us, as many representatives around the table, that chlorine in the water is something that they detest. So to find a way to try and move the dial forward and listen to the people and get what they need and want is not a bad thing. So I'm happy to support the clauses here around chlorine, and hopefully the government can listen that as a city we would like to find a way to get that chlorine out of our water rather than just leave it there and have to suffer any longer than we have to. So happy to support this, and let's go forward.
Yeah, I think, Aaron, the key word there you used was bugbear, and I think that when we're looking at responding to a bugbear of people, we need to be really cognizant that bugbears need to be weighed next to demonstrable health and safety of the population of Christchurch. And I think that when you're weighing those two things up against one another, you have to have quite a good level of debate, and you should take that quite seriously. So I won't be supporting 5, and I think, yeah, that's it. I won't be supporting 5.
Actually, in response to some of the comments I've heard around the table today, and some of the gaslighting around, if you don't vote for 5, then, you're clearly pro-chlorine. No one around this table is pro-chlorine. People are pro-health, and they are pro-meeting our legal obligations and making sure that our population is healthy and safe. The reality is we can't just keep blaming other people for chlorination. I voted against the initial temporary chlorination because it was clear that it was going to be more than temporary. But back then we had fewer leaks than we have now. So people are saying that our pipes are in good nick. They're currently leaking at 27%. We saw in the performance report today that we had 4 times as many breaks over 4 hours long as were in our levels of service in January. That's not good. I've asked for a bit of extra information of why that might be, condition of pipes or other things. We have kicked the can down the road for too long on our renewals and our leak fixing. Yes, the approach of central government hasn't been the most helpful. It has been a sledgehammer in many cases instead of a conversation. But we bear some responsibility as an organisation, as elected members over time, for the state of our pipes and the reason that the government is being stricter on water standards. So I think that we just have to face up to that and make some of those tough calls. It's a great submission, but I don't want it diluted, as Councillor Harrison-Hunt so eloquently put it at the beginning. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I think this is something you actually have to mention every time you get the opportunity, and the regulator's just doing their job as per the law. The only thing anything can change with chlorine is if the law changes. The government's doing a law change, you get the opportunity to make a submission, you kind of do have to mention it. If you go speak to anyone in the public about, we're looking at doing this with water, the response you often get was, I'm not actually too phased, just get the damn chlorine out. Yeah. So if you say, well, we made a submission on the bill, and they say, oh, did you mention chlorine? No, we didn't. The generally say, well, why not? So I'm not too worried if there's an oxymoron, whatever else, and generally anyone in the public you speak to, they're not too worried about what oxymorons are in your submission. They are more worried about the crap tasting water. So you should be mentioning it every opportunity, and I think we're overthinking what impact just mentioning it may have. Should be mentioned at every step. Good.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can I just mention in defence of staff that it is mentioned in point 40 in the submission, so they have mentioned it.
Okay, so I think, look, I'm comfortable with the inclusions of the feedback. It's feedback on a submission. I think that's, if we put it in that context. The only thing, I always like to remind people is, we invest a significant amount of money each year in our water infrastructure. We've got a very competent, capable team that do that. And if you look at our infrastructure relative to other cities, if you take Wellington, for example, we're not like that. And, you know, so we should continue to remind ourselves that actually, let's not run the place down. I think it's really actually in a good state, and we continue to invest in it. I think Sarah's right. The regulation makes sense in terms of lifting the standards. We will continue to drive investment, and we'll continue to be able to deliver more. But, you know, I think, you know, we don't want to scare people into thinking that actually we're in this situation where everything's falling apart, because like I say, we're not Wellington. So we'll put that to the vote. What we'll do is we'll vote on everything except 5. Or does everyone, do you want to vote on everything except 4 and 5, or is everyone comfortable with 4? Which is just sort of Yanni's other. It sounds like from the debate it's just 5 that people are concerned about. Okay, so can we just do, we'll put 1 to 4 first. So all in favour? Against? That's cool. Do you want to put, yeah, is it just
5B?
To me, it's actually 4 and 5. You know, just be counted out of 4 and 5.
Yep. Okay, and then, so we'll just vote on 5B. Sorry. Okay, vote on 5A. All in favour of 5A? Aye. Against? Cool. So 5B is just do a division. I think it's going to be easier. Yeah. And then we'll go into PX.
Okay, division has been called for on item 10, draft council submission on the local government bill. The division is on recommendation 5B. Deputy Mayor. No. Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor Coker.
No.
Councillor Donovan.
No.
Councillor Fields.
Yep.
Councillor Goff.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
No.
Councillor Henstock.
Yes.
Councillor Keown.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes.
Councillor McClellan.
No.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Scandon.
No.
Councillor Templeton. No. The yeses are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The noes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Noting that 2 people are not.
Yeah.
Councillor's not here.
So that's carried.
So that is carried.
Okay. I was trying to. Sorry, I thought we had 16. Not. Yeah. Okay. So we're all good. So I'll move that we go into PX. So thanks, team, for that.